Thank you and good evening. First, a big shout out to the Junior ROTC Battalion from Riverside High School. It was just a few years ago that I was there. It is a privilege to join you tonight, and it is my honor and to pay a tribute to the members of the General of the Army Omar Bradley chapter of the Association of the United States Army. The G.A. Bradley chapter provides support and assistance to the men and women in one of our nation's most important military installations, Fort Bliss, home of the 1st Armored Division, which last year finally returned to being headquartered on U.S. soil after being based for more than 40 years in Germany. I grew up with Fort Bliss living right next door to me, and I am thrilled to have you back. Fort Bliss is also home to the 15th Sustainment Brigade, the 5th Armored Brigade, 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command, 11th Air Artillery Brigade, and the Joint Task Force North. With more than 1.2 million acres of land stretched across Texas and the state of New Mexico, and more than 1,500 square miles of virtually unrestricted airspace, the United States Army was wise to bring the 1st Armored Division to the El Paso, southern New Mexico area, and we are honored to be partnered with you. Where this division and others based at Fort Bliss have the space they need to conduct some of the nation's most critical ground or air attack and defense training, Fort Bliss is currently undergoing rapid expansion. I mean, I have lived in New Mexico for 26 years, and every time I come home to visit family and I go through the Fort Bliss area, it is absolutely amazing to see the growth, the construction, the development, and just the expansion that is taking place in El Paso. The Department of Defense estimate more than 34,000 active duty soldiers will be stationed here by next year. As a result, more than $5 billion has been committed towards expansion and construction projects to accommodate the expected growth. Economists estimate the base contributes more than $1.7 billion annually to the economy of the El Paso metro area, my home, making it a vital component of the area and a neighboring Las Cruces to the north, my second home. But with the expansion comes a need to help care for the men and women and their families of Fort Bliss. The Army cannot do this alone, and it relies on the assistance from service organizations such as the Association of the United States Army, or AUSA, to provide help for many of our veterans and soldiers. Since its creation in 1950, the AUSA has worked to help the men and women of the Army. It has worked to support all aspects of national security while advancing the interests of America's Army and the men and women who serve. The G.A. Bradley chapter serves Fort Bliss soldiers and nearby veterans in two ways. On the national level, it is the premier voice of the soldier, fostering public support of the Army's role in national security. And in recent years, the G.A. Bradley chapter made sure the voices of the community were heard when the Defense Base Realignment and Closure Commission held hearings nationwide to determine which bases were to be closed, and, like Fort Bliss, which bases would be spared. On a more personal level, the chapter provides care for families when a husband or wife is deployed. In New Mexico, I have attended many yellow ribbon ceremonies. In New Mexico, it is one of the most rewarding, yet one of the events that touches your soul so deeply. I watch soldiers every day with their little ones, babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, spouses holding children in their arms, and 2 days later, they are to be deployed. I met a young woman not that long ago. She was about to have her baby 4 days later. Her husband was going to be deployed the very next day for a year. And so to the unsung heroes, to the moms and the dads and the grandmas and the grandpas and the aunts and uncles that stay behind, and to those little ones who will learn to walk and talk without their parent who is serving our country, for those who will leave memories by video or Skype or whatever it takes to make sure that that soldier is a part of that everyday life. I thank you, the unsung heroes that make sure to keep the family together, who make sure that the soldier does not miss out on those landmarks of a child as they are growing up. I thank you for being an enormous part of keeping our country free. Families know that when a loved one is deployed from Fort Bliss, they will not be alone when that loved one is gone. The soldiers appreciate knowing that their families are being cared for in their absence, allowing them to concentrate on their duties, and confident that they are in good hands. The G.A. Bradley chapter also takes an active role in supporting the community as a whole. In the fall of 2006, El Paso and the Fort Bliss complex were hit with the worst flooding they had seen in over 100 years. And when a group of local musicians recorded a CD with the intention of donating the proceeds to help with the flooded relief efforts, the G.A. Bradley chapter and Walmart stepped in and bought $10,000 worth of CDs to help the cause. The chapter also arranged to have the CDs shipped to Fort Bliss soldiers who were stationed overseas, just to give them a little taste of home. The chapter's Wounded Warrior program also plays an important role in the lives of our soldiers. The program frequently looks for donations of frequent flyer airline miles and then packages and donates these miles to wounded soldiers so that they can fly home for the holidays. You saw this on the video just a little while ago. Wounded Warriors also frequently provides snacks and beverages for yellow ribbon deployment homecoming ceremonies. And a few years ago, it teamed up with the Outback Steakhouse chain to feed more than 300 returning soldiers and their families with steaks and salads and side dishes, beverages, and desserts. The chapter also regularly hosts barbecues and other dinners for families of soldiers. I accepted tonight's invitation because I believe in the chapter's commitment and dedication to helping soldiers of Fort Bliss. My husband is a volunteer in a program called Horses for Heroes. Soldiers who have returned with a missing limb, partially paralyzed, and challenged when they return home. And it is a wonderful program that we have in New Mexico, where they learn to ride up, get on horses, and as I say, round up, no, what is it I say? That you always correct me. They rustle up cattle. And he says, you don't say rustle up. I said, but aren't you doing that? You rustle them up. And he says, no, you don't rustle them up. That's illegal. I was like, okay, you gather them. But that is what happens in the program that my husband is involved in, because of his commitment to our military, to make sure that the wounded soldiers learn to work together once again, once they've returned from service, although they're injured, and how they prop them up on a horse and teach them teamwork once again, but in a different aspect. It is amazing to watch It is amazing to watch those soldiers work together in a way that they learn that teamwork, and it's also very rewarding and rehabilitates them in their return to society. And as governor of New Mexico, I know there will be ample opportunities for Fort Bliss, White Sands, and Holloman Air Force Base to work together as one entity. With that, I have no doubt. This collaboration truly is critical, and we need to treat all three bases as one military complex so that we are all on the same page as it relates to the opportunities for these installations and our community as a whole. In New Mexico, I was proud to sign into law a number of veteran-related laws, including one that encourages business owners to hire returning soldiers from Iraq and Afghanistan. There is nothing worse than to see a soldier, a veteran, standing in the unemployment line. And so we give a tax credit to any employer in the state of New Mexico who hires a returning soldier from Iraq or Afghanistan, because they deserve the best, because they have given to us their best. One that offers an advantage for veteran owner business. Also, I signed a bill when bidding on government contracts. And we allow for those businesses that are owned by a veteran to receive a preference in the state of New Mexico so that they can get their company off the ground, so that they have a 5% preference because they are a veteran, once again, and that they can receive that government contract. And we also have fought hard to make sure that 25% of the retirement of a veteran's pension is not taxed. Our legislature continues to struggle with that one. We will continue to fight back, because to keep our veterans, because we have 3 military bases in New Mexico, we want to make sure that our veterans stay in our state with their federal pensions and start their own businesses, compete for those requests for proposals for government projects, receive the preference, and do not stand on the unemployment line and are employed. Each one of you in this room knows just how difficult war is on the brave soldiers, sailors, and airmen and women who are fighting. But not everyone appreciates just how hard this service is on the families and loved ones they leave behind and those who are returning from tour. And while federal and state and local governments do their best to care for our servicemen and women, we cannot do this alone. Our numbers are too great, and available funds are constantly decreasing. That is why the work that service organizations like yours are really extremely crucial. You step up and fill in the gaps to provide valuable services to those who have served. So I'm here tonight to thank you, the members of the G.A. Omar Bradley chapter of the AUSA, for all that you do for our soldiers and the veterans and their families. Just today, I was at Kirtland Air Force Base, and I heard a story of a young woman. She was the spouse of a military man and was struggling mentally and possibly threatening suicide. The challenge was so difficult. There was an organization that they had there that all they had to do was place a phone call. And without even completing the sentence of what was needed, the person on the other side of the line said, "I know what's needed, I will be there, and I will stand by," and provided the support that was necessary while the soldier was in Afghanistan. There's no greater comfort to that soldier than to know that their spouse is being taken care of by someone who cares. That is a story that you hear over and over, whether it be struggles financially, emotionally, with children, with raising families alone. But we have to make sure that the soldier in the field has a free mind and an open heart to continue to do that which has been ordered of him or her, so that the mission is complete and allows us to continue to be free. So I truly do thank this organization for all that you do every single day to make sure that those here at home are taken care of, and that our men and women at war or in peacekeeping missions continue to do so with an open mind, a fresh heart, and understanding that all is good here at home. God bless America, and God bless each one of you for all that you do, and keep you safe in everything that you accomplish in the name of freedom. God bless.